Okay, 1.2, solving multi-step equations. So here we're going to be doing just like what we did in 1.1, except now the problems are going to be a little bit longer, a little bit harder, okay? So starting off number one. To begin, we want to get the variable as alone as possible, right? That's the goal, is to get it alone. We're supposed to get an n equals. So I'm going to start off by subtracting 3 from both sides. This leaves me with negative 2n is negative 12. And now I can just divide by negative 2, and I get n equals 6. All right, not too crazy. Number 1 again. This should be number 2. Beginning here, I'm going to add 11 to both sides. This gives me, and I could probably do that in my head, but I'm not going to, negative 21.5 plus 11 is negative 10.5 equals 1/2 c. Right, and we could write that 1/2 c as, we could write it as 1/2 c, or we could write it as c over 2. Both of those would be correct ways and good ways to write it. To get rid of the 1/2, I'm going to multiply everything by 2. So that cancels the 1/2 out. And then on the left here, I'm going to have, what is that? That'll be negative 21. And there we are. Number 3, or number 1 again. This one here, we have some parentheses, and we're going to want to deal with those to begin with. To deal with that, I'm going to distribute this 3 inside here, right? Remember distributing? So 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 1 is 3. Then we have 6, and we have negative 9. Next up, I'm going to combine like terms. I'm going to combine this 3 and this 6 together, so I get 3x plus 9 is negative 9. I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. So 3x is negative 18. And then lastly, I'm going to divide by 3. So x is, well, what is 18 divided by 3? That gives me 6. And there we are. Number 4. This one here is a little unique because it has the big fraction. What I would do is I think about this as this part there is grouped together, right? That fraction bar groups it together. So to start off here, I'm going to multiply everything by 10 to get rid of that denominator. So I'm going to have, on the left here, my 10 and my 10 cancel, so I'm left with just a plain old x plus 6. And then 10 times 5 is 50. I subtract 6 from both sides, and I get x equals, what is that, 44. And there we are. Now, again, anytime you have either a bunch of stuff on top, you need to group those together. And you don't have to write that down, but you need to make sure that you know that there are parentheses there, or there's kind of figurative parentheses there. Or you could say you've got 2 over a plus b. You need to make sure that you understand that those are grouped together as well. All right. Whenever you've got a fraction bar that goes over more, like a plus or a minus, there's a grouping there. The fraction bar is grouping them together. Number 5. The formula, here, let me move this and then I can talk. Oops. The formula D equals 1/2 N plus 26 relates to the nozzle pressure N in pounds per square inch of a fire hose and the maximal horizontal distance D in feet the water reaches. How much pressure is needed to reach a fire 20 yards away? All right, so that we have two variables here. We've got D, that stands for distance, and N, that stands for nozzle pressure, or pressure. So we're standing here with a fire hose. I'm not even going to try to draw a fire hose. I don't know how to do that. And then we've got our house, which is a really small house. It's even shorter than the person. And we're going to try to shoot water to it. And it is, what is this, 20 yards? Now, one of the things that we're going to need to notice here is the units. It says that it's 20 yards away, but it says here the maximal horizontal distance d in feet. So for starters, let's convert yards to feet. And we should know that there are 3 feet in every yard, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, well, 20 times 3 is going to be, what is that going to be? 60 feet. So we're trying to shoot the water 20 yards or 60 feet, right? That's the same thing. Now that I've got it in feet, I can plug into my formula. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in for distance. So really I have d equals 1/2 n plus 26. I'm going to plug in for d. So I'm going to say 60 equals 1/2 n plus 26. And now I'm going to solve to get my pressure. So starting off, I'm going to subtract 26. So I'm going to say 60 minus 26. That gives me 34. Is 1/2 n. Now multiplying by 2, I get 68 equals n. Now because there's so much units here, I'm going to answer with units. I'm going to say 68 pounds per, what is it, pounds per square inch? 68 pounds per square inch. And there we are. Whenever you're on homework problems, whenever you're on some of those bigger word problems, make sure that you pay attention to the units, okay? A lot of the units are going to be ones that you kind of just know, like feet and yards. That should be something that we know. Sometimes you might want to Google and find how many feet are in, I don't know, a mile. I never remember that one. I know it's 5,000 something, but I never remember what it exactly is. And I Google it every time, right? If we have a test, if we have a homework or a quiz, well, not a homework. If we have a test or a quiz, something in class, I'll make sure that you have those conversion factors there, okay? I'll make sure that you have those. On homework, though, you might have to Google some. Number 6, you are paid 1.2 times your normal hourly rate for each hour you work over 40 hours in a week. You work 46 hours this week and earn $462.56. And it wants to know, what is your normal hourly rate? Okay, so we'll say your normal rate, we'll just call it the rate. Your rate is X. We'll say your over 40 rate is 1.2x. So here we need to look here and we say we worked 46 hours. So we worked 40 regular, so 40x plus 6 overtime. So 6 times 1.2x. And then we got paid, or whoever it is, got paid $462.56. Okay. Now we all know that this dot here, that's a multiplication dot. You could use parentheses. A lot of the times I don't use the x for multiplication anymore because we have the x as a variable. So we normally don't want to do that. But that's what that dot means. It means multiplication. So on the left here, I'm going to simplify. So I'm going to have 40x plus, I'm going to type in 6 times 1.2. That gives me 7.2. Okay, now I'm going to add the 7.2 and the 40 to give me 47.2. X equals 462.56. And now I'm going to divide 462.56 divided by 47.2. And I got 9.8. So X equals 9.8. So we need to remind ourselves, what did we find there? This is our hourly rate, our normal hourly rate, right? Not our overtime, but our normal. And the question asks, what is our normal hourly rate? So we have 9.8, and I'm going to put 9.80 because we're talking about money, dollars. And there we are. Next up, number 7. Now there's going to be some problems like this where it just asks for you to solve for a variable. Sometimes these are called literal equations, where there's a bunch of different letters and you have to manipulate it. Here we're supposed to solve for x. And what we need to look here is we have an x here and an x here. What we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to factor. And factor means undo distribute, right? So we know that if we had something like x times, I don't know, y plus 1, if we have this, we distribute our x and we'd have xy plus 1x. Okay? Now, if we were given this and we were told to factor, what we would do is we would undo the distributing. We'd pull the x out and we'd end up with what we had at the top there. That's what we're going to have to do here whenever we're solving for x. There's two different x's. So to undo distribute, to factor, I'm going to pull an x out. Now, whenever I pull an x out of that first part, I've got 2bx. Whenever I take out the x, I'm going to have 2b. On the second spot, whenever I take out the x, I'm going to have a plain old b. Right? Now, what we have written there, if you were to distribute that x out, we would come back to what we had at the top. Now, we have x times something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by. I'm going to divide by 2b minus b. Divide by 2b minus b. This here will cancel, and I'm going to be left with x equals negative 8 over 2b minus b. And there we are. Okay? These problems can be a little bit tricky whenever you're dealing with literal equations, but there will be a couple of these on the homework. So, all right, that is section 1.2. What is this called? Multi-step equations. All right, that's all.